8:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by J. Yogaraj, read by Sounditavam. Sri Lanka to get $330 million EFF third tranche. The President hits out at politicians making promises without presenting any economic policies. The government to enact 15 crucial acts in the near future. The reconstruction of the railway line up to Mihintale to be completed before Posanpoya. The import and export control regulations to be submitted to Parliament for approval. The Cabinet of Ministers has approved the submission of the import and export control regulations. News overseas. Hong Kong cancels 6 activists' passports under new security law. In sports, swimming star Chanudi does Lyceum Nugegoda proud. The Finance State Minister Shehan Semasinga said that the second review of the Sri Lanka's extended fund facility from the International Monetary Fund will begin in Washington today. Semasinga noted that this review would evaluate Sri Lanka's economic reforms and their progress, and mentioned that the relevant measures have already been fully implemented by the Sri Lankan government. The minister expressed confidence that these discussions for the third tranche of the IMF facility will be successful. The IMF Executive Board would approve the disbursement of the third tranche, amounting to $330 million to Sri Lanka. Semasinga highlighted the importance of the support of all countries for a successful review of the third tranche. He further explained that this tranche will be part of the IMF's extended fund facility for Sri Lanka. Meanwhile, the IMF has acknowledged that Sri Lanka's debt restructuring process has made substantial progress. Additionally, the economic reforms currently being implemented in Sri Lanka have begun to show results, with rapid economic growth, robust reserve accumulation, and stability in the financial system being noted as commendable outcomes. The Justice, Prison Affairs and Constitutional Reforms Minister, Dr. Vijayadasa Rajapaksa, announced plans to enact approximately 15 crucial laws in the upcoming weeks. Highlighting progress, he noted that over the past 18 months, around 75 bills have been introduced and approved by Parliament, facilitating fundamental adjustments within the country. The Justice, Prison Affairs and Constitutional Reforms Minister, President's Counsel Dr. Vijayadasa Rajapaksa, was addressing a press briefing held at the Presidential Media Centre today under the theme of Collective Path to a Stable Country. Minister Vijayadasa Rajapaksa, adding to his remarks, also stated that this period marks one of the most significant legal reforms in the justice system of our country. Over the past 18 months, approximately 75 bills have been presented and approved by Parliament, paving the way for fundamental changes. Additionally, the government has enacted an Anti-Corruption Act aimed at curbing bribery, fraud, corruption and embezzlement in both the public and private sectors, aligning with the United Nations Anti-Corruption Charter. Notably, the Bribery Commission has been endowed with enhanced powers and autonomy. Furthermore, new provisions have been introduced concerning sports and sexual bribery offences. Cabinet spokesman, Mass Media Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena said that the reconstruction of the railway line up to Mihintale will be completed before Posanpoya. The minister mentioned this at the Cabinet Media Conference held today at the Government Information Department. Cabinet approval has been granted to increase the salary of a preschool teacher by 2,500 rupees. Accordingly, Cabinet spokesman Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena said that 8,700 preschool teachers will continue to receive 5,000 rupees each. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
A comprehensive banking services package with a branded checkbook as well as debit and credit card exclusively for you.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe states that at present, certain politicians are making extensive promises without presenting any concrete policies to drive the country's economic growth. Speaking during a dialogue with youth representatives of the parliamentary sectoral oversight committees, President Wickremesinghe expressed that despite prolonged discussions between the opposition leader Sajith Premadasa and the NPP leader Anura Dissanayake regarding debate formats and venues, no agreement was reached. Regrettably, none of these individuals have put forth a viable economic agenda, the President highlighted. Meanwhile, President Wickremesinghe emphasized that the upcoming presidential election will not be his personal victory or defeat, but that of the country's success or failure. The President noted that if the people are satisfied with the government's program, they can support it. Otherwise, they will face the consequences of living in a country with a collapsed economy, struggling to supply essential items like medicines and fertilizer, and experience long queues for fuel and gas. President Wickremesinghe made these comments during a dialogue on policy reforms held at the Water's Edge Hotel in Battaramulla yesterday with the youth representatives of the parliamentary sectoral oversight committees. The Cabinet of Ministers has approved the submission of the Import and Export Control Regulations No. 7 of 2024, issued under the Import and Export Control Act No. 1 of 1969 and the Standardization and Quality Control Regulations issued under the same Act for the approval of the Parliament of Sri Lanka. According to the Import and Export Regulations No. 7 of 2024, the controlled import of motor vehicles for tourism purposes has been introduced. This follows a temporary suspension on motor vehicle imports as per the Import and Export Control Regulations No. 2 of 2023. In line with the proposal by the Minister of Tourism and Lands, the Cabinet has approved the import of 250 small buses and 750 vans for tourism on April 1st. The new regulations aim to implement this decision, reflecting the government's efforts to support and boost the tourism sector through regulated imports. The Cabinet has approved the imposition of new regulations designed to promote efficient and safe trade transport, while ensuring fair opportunities for both local and non-domestic products on March 11th. These regulations have been published in an extraordinary gazette and are intended to facilitate a more balanced and effective trade environment. That concludes local news.
Elevate your life with People's Bank Excelsior. A comprehensive banking services package with a branded checkbook as well as debit and credit card exclusively for you.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
The Cabinet of Ministers has approved the revision of the Penal Code to strengthen legal provisions to prohibit sexual harassment and sexual assault. On 12 December 2022, the Cabinet of Ministers had approved the introduction of amendments to the Penal Code, criminalizing all forms of sexual harassment and sexual abuse, including sexual harassment and sexual assault in public places. The clearance of the Attorney General has been received for the draft bill, prepared by the legal draftsman, the Department of Government Information said. Accordingly, the proposal made by the Minister of Justice, Prison Affairs and Constitutional Reforms Vijayadasa Rajapaksa to publish the said draft bill in the Government Gazette and present the same thereafter in Parliament for approval has been approved by the Cabinet and came to you in the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
On to Watchlight, the Marine Forecasting Division of the National Meteorological Centre has issued an advisory of rough sea and strong winds. Strong winds accompanied with heavy rainfall and very rough seas are likely over the sea areas around the country and over the southeastern sea area during the next few days. The naval and fishing communities have been advised not to venture into the sea areas marked by red colour on the map that has been issued. The naval and fishing communities are requested to be vigilant in this regard, and that came to you in Watchlight.
Coming up, World News.
In the headlines tonight, Zelensky calls for more air defense aid at Ukraine Recovery Conference. Hong Kong cancels 6 activist passports under new security law, and the G7 leaders to discuss using frozen Russian assets to help Ukraine. Discussions on how to reconstruct Ukraine are being held in Berlin, Germany. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has told the participants that to advance recovery efforts, his country needs more support for its air defense system. Around 2,000 people, including government and corporate officials from more than 60 countries, have gathered in the German capital for the 2-day conference that started on Tuesday. The World Bank and others estimate that the recovery and reconstruction effort in Ukraine will cost $486 billion over the next 10 years. The Hong Kong government says it has cancelled the passports of 6 pro-democracy activists residing in Britain, saying they continue to engage in activities that endanger national security. The government on Wednesday announced measures applied against the relevant absconders. The activists are on a wanted list for inciting secession and other charges. A senior US government official says the group of 7 countries will look at ways to use frozen Russian assets to provide funding to Ukraine. The group's members froze the assets during sanctions after Russia invaded its neighbor in 2022. The White House National Security spokesman, John Kirby, said on Tuesday the matter will be on the agenda of the G7 summit starting on Thursday in Italy. With that, we conclude this bulletin of world news.
Development news.
Unilever Sri Lanka recently inaugurated a new 2.33 megawatt solar power project at its Horana factory, partnering with Abans Electricals plc for project execution with a total investment of 1.3 million euros. The Minister of Energy and Electricity, Kanchana Wijesekara, while congratulating Unilever Sri Lanka team for initiating this rooftop solar mechanism in Horana, said that this will help with the factory's power generation as well as contribute towards national targets of renewable energy. That's development news.
Moving on with sports news.
Shanadi Kumara Peruma, a student at Lyceum International School, Nugegoda, emerged under-17 girls pentathlon champion at the recent pentathlon swimming championship organized by the Sri Lanka Aquatic Sports Union, concluded at the Sukradasa Stadium swimming pool complex last Sunday. Despite being just 15 years old, Kumara Peruma emerged as the under-17 girls pentathlon champion, surpassing competitors across all age categories. Her remarkable performance clocked at 7.41, setting a new benchmark not only for her age group but also for the under-20 and 20 and over categories. That's sports news. We take a look at business news next.
Go ekak tiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හින හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru account. NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
First Capital Holdings plc, in collaboration with Habitat for Humanity Sri Lanka, announced the completion of its CSR project aimed at providing access to safe and dignified housing for underprivileged families in the Bope Poddala division in the Galle district. In a heartfelt ceremony attended by senior staff from both organizations and key government officials, 2 new homes were handed over to deserving families and came to you in business news.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak tiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හින හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru account. NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
On to economic news. President Ranil Wickremesinghe will launch a digital education platform titled Public.Learn LK on 13th July at the Presidential Secretariat, making it easier for Sri Lankans to find free courses and achieve their education and professional goals via digital means. Public.Learn is a one-stop shop signposting users to free courses from some of the world's leading universities. The platform has been put together by Region Global. Region Global's joint CEOs, Tarshini Pankraj and Dr. Selva Pankraj, were both born in Sri Lanka and spent their early years in the country before leaving for the UK. Public.Learn democratizes learning by inducting hundreds, if not thousands, of formal outside-in education courses on almost any subject. That came to you in economic news.
Weather report.
The Met Department says that showers will occur at times in the western, Sabrigamo and northwestern provinces, also in the Kandy, Nuwara, Galle and Marchura districts. Fairly heavy showers above 75 millimeters are likely at some places in the western and Sabaragamuwa provinces. Showers or thundershowers may occur at a few places in the Uva province and the Ampara and Batticaloa districts in the evening or night. Strong winds of about 40 to 50 kilometers can be expected at times over the western slopes of the central hills, the northern, north central and northwestern provinces, also in the Trincomalee, Hambantota and Monoragala districts. This weather report was published this evening at 7:30 p.m. and further details could be obtained by visiting the official website of the department. To conclude this bulletin of news, a recap of the headlines. Sri Lanka to get $330 million EFF third tranche. The President hits out at politicians making promises without presenting any economic policies. The government to enact 15 crucial acts in the near future. The reconstruction of the railway line up to Mihintale to be completed before Posanpoya. The import and export control regulations to be submitted to Parliament approval. The Cabinet of Ministers has approved the submission of the import and export control regulations. Hong Kong cancels 6 activist passport under new security law. And swimming star Shanudi does Lyceum Nugegada proud. With that, we conclude tonight's news broadcast, and now it's back to Ramesh to take you to the end of transmission and keep you entertained. Back to you, Ramesh.
Thank you, Saunti, and that was Saunti Thavam with the final news bulletin of the day. And take care and have yourself a safe journey back home. You're with Radio Sri Lanka on 97.4 and 97.6 FM island-wide and across the globe on www.slbc.lk.